Hi, I'm Dennis Brook with NCWA, and I'm here with Nick Harrison of Harvest House, and he's just taught a section about selling your fiction in tough economic times. And you had a couple of points that I thought were kind of interesting. You talked about the percentage of success that's because of writing and the percentage of success that's due to other things.
Right. Writing is important, and improving one's writing is also important. That's the 60%, continuing to write. But there's a 40% that a lot of writers neglect, and that's the going to conferences, networking, meeting editors, finding out what's on the bestseller list, what readers want to read, what this publisher wants versus what that publisher wants. Is my writing appropriate here or more appropriate here? Just the whole 40% that has nothing to do with writing, but has a lot to do with whether you're published or not. A lot of writers will be really excellent writers, but they won't do the 40% and they'll remain unpublished. A lot of writers will be maybe not quite as good as the others, but they'll do the 40% and they'll be published.
They get published, so it's need to have the basics, but don't neglect the extra stuff. So, and you also had an interesting concept about a 5-year plan. I think a lot of people, I did it myself, and other people just show up and say, hey, I've got this book written, I expect it to be ready and published. You talked about a 5-year plan.
Well, you know, becoming a writer, honestly, it's a lot like becoming any other kind of successful artist or craftsman. You wouldn't expect to play at Carnegie Hall if you were just taking up piano. You'd have to say, that's my goal, or whatever is your goal in terms of piano or painting or whatever. Well, with writing, you need to have a goal that's out there and gives you time to grow as a writer. And so there are things you can plan to do over the course of, say, 5 years that will allow you to meet discouragement, rejection, and say, you know, okay, that's a bump in the road, but I'm still going towards my plan. I'm going to be going to this conference this year, maybe that conference the other year. I have a deadline for my proposal, including first 3 chapters of the novel I'm working on. Just specific goals over the course of 5 years, or longer, or shorter, as the case may be, just so that you stay on track and keep going ahead.
Great, great. And you mentioned Brandolyn, whose journey to publication was a lot longer than that, how she succeeded and basically got encouraged.
Right. And of course, at one point, she had to kind of back up and say, wait a minute, I'm a Christian, I'm writing for God's purposes, and God basically saying to her, I want your writing, give it to me. So obviously, one of the very first things, especially when we talk about a 5-year plan, one of the very first things is finding out what God wants from you in terms of your writing, if indeed He wants you to write. We'll waste a lot of time doing things that are not profitable if we don't have the mind of God concerning our writing. So we do need to pray. Brandolyn offered up a verse from Psalm 138:8. In my version, it says, the Lord will perfect that which concerns me. And that's a great verse for writers. But writers do need to have a sense of where they're going, where God's going with their writing, a sense of purpose. There again, that'll help over the bumps of rejection. That'll surely come along in almost every writer's journey.
Great, great advice. Well, this is a great session. Thanks for coming to the conference, and look forward to seeing you again.
Sure.
Thanks, Nick.
You bet.